Now on Zero Blog 30, we are joined by Chad Robichaux, former Force Recon Marine, DoD contractor, pro MMA champion. What else doesn't this guy do? I have no idea. Very impressive resume. 8 deployments to Afghanistan as part of Joint Special Operations Command Task Force, and the co-founder of Save Our Allies. It's great to meet you because I've been retweeting and pushing this and have been really admiring and hoping for this Save Our Allies cause. And so it's nice to actually put a face to one of the people behind this effort. And now he's got a book coming out. The book is Saving Aziz, How the Mission to Help One Became a Calling to Save Thousands. That's going to be out on, well, it's out now. It came out on January 17th. So Chad, thank you so much for joining the show.
No, thanks for having me on and Semper Fi.
Semper Fi, most definitely. But I mean, even between this, you were in Ukraine earlier this year. You were hit by an airstrike. Before that, you were with Tim Kennedy among that whole group of, I mean, that story was absolutely incredible. You got more people out of Afghanistan in the end than really anyone else. It was an amazing effort by so many people.
Yeah.
Can you tell us more about, in the first place, how did you wind up in this situation?
Well, it began for me with just kind of a selfish desire to get my own interpreter. I had a very special relationship with my interpreter because of being on that JSOC task force
Mm-hmm.
that I was with. My job was a AFO, Advanced Force Operator, which for those that don't know what that is really going ahead of you. Like in a special operations unit, the AFO would go ahead of the unit to build a clandestine infrastructure to get the assaulters on target to capture or kill bad guys, going into non-permissive areas, really in a singleton capacity. So by yourself with maybe one other teammate, looking like the locals and living with the locals. So
Yeah.
my interpreter Aziz was not only my interpreter, but he was also my teammate, highly trained and to work with us, and very vetted, polygraph vetted, access to the same level of information that we had. And so for continuity purposes, he did all 8 deployments with me. So
Oh,
many people,
wow. All 8.
right? So many people have an interpreter, and then the next deployment they go out, they're doing something totally different with another interpreter, and then maybe that interpreter's for their whole unit. Or Aziz, in my case, Aziz was my interpreter, my cultural advisor, my teammate for 8 deployments. So of all the people I worked with in Afghanistan during my time, he's the one I worked with the most. And through the years of doing that, we became very close. I mean, we go by ourselves for weeks or months in the mountains of Afghanistan or across the
Yeah.
border to Pakistan. We'd spending that much time together. I mean, if you've ever been on a 10-hour car ride with someone, you either love them or you hate them.
You
And
probably know him better than some of your own family members at that point. Like,
and that's how it was with Aziz and I. And he always he was like so selfless, always put my life before his, culturally, and just it's just really who he is. Like, even though I had more military experience than him, he still like would make sure he went first around the corner. He went first into a building. And then multiple times, 3 times specifically, he like saved my life. I seen him put his life at risk to save other special operators during extraction operations and things like that. He just got recognized by Congress, by the way, for an extraction we did of 4 SEALs when he, came up with a real unconventional way to go in and get them in a Taliban infested village and safely extract these 4 SEALs and all their equipment.
wow.
So I think he was the first Afghan ever recognized by Congress, and we just got that done for him. But outside of like saving my life tangibly, like literally, like the way we operated, he saved my life every day. Don't walk.
Despite you could be the most skilled special forces, you could be like Rambo, and in that situation, you would still be lost without your interpreter. I mean, the culture, the language, everything, you wouldn't have been able to accomplish any of the mission without an expert like that. And
Yeah.
especially, like you said, I feel like the continuity part is so rare on deployments. And to have that the whole way through all 8 is just incredible.
We didn't work together. I mean, when we went out operating, I didn't go at base and he went home. I went to his house. Like the first warm
Yeah.
meal, like out of those mountains, his wife Hatra made it for us, and I held his oldest son and oldest daughter, Mashuda, when they were born as babies. So yeah, I mean, so to answer your question, that was a long answer. Aziz's family, when the withdrawal was announced, and President Biden said that we were going to be doing a full withdrawal from Afghanistan, that had 2 major problems. One was I did not agree with the withdrawal strategically as a military force and for national security and global security. But secondly, I did not want to let my friend be left there and his wife and 6 kids to be killed for what he did for us.
Right.
And so,
And I think like a lot of us, like my linguist from the first deployment, there's one in particular that sticks out in my mind, and that was only one short deployment, and I had lost touch. But right away, so many of us that I feel like it's part of the moral injury that we all feel like the I was in so much distress when they announced the withdrawal and the quickness of it, and seeing everyone trying to get their linguists out. And I was thinking of this one guy who I knew for this one quick phase of time, and I felt like genuinely like heartbroken and so upset. And so I can only imagine right away what you're feeling. And you're like, we have to get him out of here. Where do you even begin?
Well, I reached out, through my years in special operations. I have a lot of great friends. And then outside of those 14 years that I did in service, I've been running Mighty Oaks Foundation for the last 12 years. So I still can have it's a military ministry, a nonprofit that we do, for PTSD and people struggling with suicide. And so that kept me connected with a lot of folks in the military. And so I started reaching out to people I trusted that had that had ASO or AFO level experience, meaning they had the ability to operate without a lot of resources. They had already had their time in combat, meaning they were not going to be immature guys wanting to go out there and get in a fight with the Taliban.
Right.
Or be willing to do humanitarian.
Not just doing it for a cool bar story later on. They really,
yeah. And people that had the capacity. I needed a few people that had the capacity to help me raise money, because this was going to be a very expensive operation. I didn't realize at the time how expensive it was going to be, because I didn't know what we were getting into.
Right.
But we came together, and as we're planning operations, one of the guys pointed out these 3,500 orphans that were there as well, and it kind of changed our perspective of going to get his wife and 6 kids, to getting as many Americans, interpreters, women and children that would be in persecuted for who they were, Christians that would be persecuted for their faith. And we were just like, let's help as much as we can. We have this incredible my experience, like those Green Berets, 4th Recon Marines, a couple of guys from CIA Ground Branch, like very high level experienced guys.
Yeah.
And, we all had the willingness to do it, and we made a decision to do that. I think all of us are pretty strong people of faith, and so we felt this burden. We felt God was putting on our heart to do that, and we said yes. And then honestly, after that, I believe, again, I'm a person of faith. I believe we witnessed like a divine miracle, because some things happen, a series of events happen that I'm not smart enough or capable enough to pull together. And it was just like to me, it was miraculous. It was orchestrated in a way that none of us could have pulled off. I think the first thing was Sarah Verardo from Sabre Allies made a call to the Joint Chiefs to get us as an NGO permission to go to HKIA Airport, which land aircraft there, go off of the airport, rescue civilians, and fly people up. That's like an impossibility. You were in the military.
Right. And for people who don't know too, normally to get permission to do anything, the bureaucracy, the red tape you have to go through takes years sometimes. Like it's an incredible thing that you even got. And like an NGO is a non-governmental organization, for people who don't know, like to even get that designation, to be able to move forward and land a plane at HKA at the airport. That's a feat in itself, that you'd say, God, call it a day. That's the most impressive part of this whole thing.
Accomplished that in 2 days.
In 2 days, you got it done. And that, again, I think shows the desperation. Yeah. Every veteran I knew across the board was on Facebook posting their linguist or someone they knew going, can anyone help? Can anyone help? Does anyone have connections? Like, and then on that end, you see them reaching out, being like, does anyone remember my Marines from my unit who can help me get? And so for you to orchestrate the largest rescue mission in such a quick amount of time, and with and in connection with the government, just wild.
With that, our the one thing we had to have people that we brought on had to be people that had SIV, P1 or P2 visas.
Okay.
Or like orphans or something like that. So what makes our rescue operation kind of significant is people that the DOD brought out on these mass loads in these planes. Nothing against our active duty military, but the people they were told to fly out, they were not vetted at all, and they came straight to the United States. Our people were manifested, had paperwork, and then went to a third party country to be vetted by the State Department. So we had, not only did we have the largest civilian airlift, but we also had the only vetted one.
You had a legitimate system in place to send right.
Incredible to watch our team put all that together. And we had some amazing people, and that team were really led by Sarah Verardo to put that together. And then, and then on top of that, now we get permission to land there, fly people off. Now, where do we bring people? These people don't have visas. They applied for visas, but they don't have visas. in this, you can't bring them to the States, you can't bring them to another country because that's human trafficking. So we need permissions. So we went to the United Arab Emirates, the royal family, and told them what we want to do. And they gave us permission to use the humanitarian center and roll out the red carpet. They rolled out the red carpet like for doctors and care and food and lodging, all the stuff. And then they said, we'll give you a C-17 plane and with pilots. And if you fill that up, we'll give you another one. And then the next day, 3 days into this is why I'm saying it's like a miracle. Glenn Beck, radio show host Glenn Beck, calls me out of the blue and says, I just got on the radio to try to raise money. I thought I'd raise a few $1,000s, but I raised $21 million. What do I do with it? He ultimately raised $46 million. And I said, I need you to start chartering planes. He signed Rudy Atala from Mercury One Ministries, and they started chartering planes for us. And so that's how we began the operation at HKIA.
To the tune of 17,000 people. Yeah. I mean, and for everyone, I mean, I think the images from the airport, the chaos will be forever in everyone's mind, some of those images. And to know that that's what it was like, and you guys got that done, is absolutely incredible. So Aziz then, in particular, obviously that was one, while all these wheels are spinning, you're keeping the closest of tabs on this. How did that end up panning out? And was that pretty smooth, or was that also like
you've seen the airport, you saw the images. I mean, the level of chaos there was, I mean, tens of thousands of people getting trampled to death, and the Taliban, the White House took the NEO operation, non-combatant evacuation operation, away from the DOD, gave it to the State Department. The State Department allowed the Taliban to have the outer perimeter and control who in and out of the airport. So it's very dangerous. Aziz,
as we saw the results of that,
and that's just why we lost 13 service members. And American and the White House telling, hey, Americans, if they want to go, they just go to the airport. What they don't realize is they have to show their blue passport to the Taliban guy who's literally beating people and shooting people in the streets.
Right.
And, so, I mean, I'm not going to show my blue passport to that guy. But that's who we had in charge of the outer perimeter, was the Taliban. And so Aziz, it took seven attempts had failed. He was getting so desperate. He's got little Mashkar, 6 years old at the time, all the way up to Mashhor was 18. So 6 kids, trying to get them through that. His 3 daughters are terrified that they're going to be, have to deal with. I mean, because Aziz's whole family left because they're like, man, we know what you did. We're not going to be around you. So he was abandoned. His daughters were terrified. His wife was terrified. And so when Aziz made it to the airport the 8th time, I was coordinating with a guy, Sean G, who was on the opposite side of the airport as Aziz, and we couldn't get them to each other. So we called a active duty special operations unit that was on the airport, who was already working with us, a guy named Sean High, Air Force pararescueman, who graciously opened the gate, went outside the gate, and ushered him inside. And that's how Aziz actually was saved, his wife and his 6 kids. But I mean, a lot of people don't know, Aziz, after he got his wife and 6 kids inside, he went back out for us and got someone else.
Really? Shows the kind of person he is. And then once, they're finally inside, do they also go to UAE? Like, where did they go next, and what was next for Aziz and his family?
Well, they went to UAE and did the best we could to get him expedited, but he ended up spending 9 months there.
Okay.
So now he's a Texan. He's here. He's upstairs in the hotel.
He's outside shooting skeet right now. He's heading down to the pond to go fishing after this. He's got a dip in. He's got
a cowboy hat and cowboy boots.
Giant boots. He's got a cool buckle now.
I think everything American you can. Even took him skydiving, and right before he jumped out, he's like, man, you took me all the way from Afghanistan to die here.
But that's amazing too. Like, what did you say? Like, hey, come to where I am. Like, come live around me and with me, or what was like?
It wasn't even a question. Like he was. I wasn't just getting him out of Afghanistan. I was bringing him. He's family. He like, you're going to come here. I had 3 churches come together from my community. When he showed up, I just put an Amazon gift thing. My garage, like 2-car garage. I have a 3-car garage, but like 2 bays were full of like stuff for his house. People, he had a welcome to USA party, like a ticker tape party. It was incredible. And he's just was so warmly embraced by everyone. I'm so thankful that everyone in my community in Texas that just opened their arms around them and just loved them and accepted them in this community. And
that's amazing.
He came to work for my foundation, Mighty Oaks Foundation. So he works with me too.
Oh, that's awesome. And then where Save Our Allies, obviously there's still a lot going on and we're seeing things changing with visa statuses and how many people are still in Afghanistan hoping to get over here and yada yada. Where do things stand now? And
Well,
like what's the latest effort by Save Our Allies?
yeah, so I'm actually not. I helped. I started Save Our Allies.
Yeah.
My primary focus is Mighty Oaks Foundation. That's where I've
Okay.
been. I still, they're all, Tim's still there. Tim Kennedy,
Yep.
Nick Palmisano, Sarah Broader. They pretty much run Save Our Allies now. They're doing a lot more work in different parts of the world. But as far as the Afghan evacuations, the State Department has pretty much shut down any NGO to be able to do that. The only
Right.
guy I know that's really able to that's a guy named Joe Roberts, who was on the evacuations with us. He's still living in UAE and kind of seeing it through and helping people get. But I mean, the State Department's even if we had the ability to get people out of Afghanistan, you can't bring them anywhere because they pretty much closed the door for us to bring
Right.
them anywhere. And that was
Yeah.
at the airport. In 10 days, we got 12,000 people out. 13 of our service members were killed. The airport evacuations were shut down. We chose to stay because the White House was saying there was 100 Americans there. Not even debate. There were thousands of Americans still there.
Hmm.
One American is not okay. We don't leave
Hmm.
them behind. Where I come from, like we'll literally scorch the earth. We'll get one American in harm's way. But our government left. It made our military left. Our military did not want to leave, but as civilians, we didn't have to leave, so we chose to stay. There was
Right.
a coalition of a lot of nonprofits that came together and did 2 more months of airlifts out of Mazar Sharif, and we got another 5,000 people out. And then when the airlifts were over, we still chose to stay. Myself and a Marine named Staff Sergeant Dennis Price, who I got permission from his commander, Lieutenant Colonel Tommy Waller from 3rd Force Recon Company, to cut him loose on a humanitarian mission, which is another
Hmm.
miraculous. Uh,
Yep.
he came with me to Tajikistan, and the two of us went into Tajikistan, and we did about 12 hours through the mountains, went to the border, and spent 10 days on the Tajikistan Afghanistan border, and did 90 miles of border reconnaissance, and every night we'd swim into Afghanistan to fording the route reps to build routes out for the people that were stuck in the Panjshir Valley. And that river was, if you were stuck in the Panjshir Valley, it's 25,000-foot mountain peaks.
Yep.
Category 5 rapids and ice melt water. And then the Chinese military were there, the Taliban was there, the Russians were there, that border was saturated. So, for us, it was, getting past the Tajik border guard, getting past all those people, building routes out, doing the fording reps and providing that information to our government agencies that wanted to help, to other NGOs that were doing evacuations, into the commandos that were trying to get families across that river. And so we spent 10 days doing that and passing information along to help save more lives. But that pretty much for us was the extent of what we're able to do. And unfortunately, there's still 40 million people in Afghanistan that are
Right.
20 million women and little girls that are already being sexually enslaved and have lost all human
Not
rights.
allowed to go to school anymore. Yeah, they're basically property and it's
Yeah.
been terrible to watch. Um wow. Well, I don't want to brag, but during that time I did a couple tweets to help out. So we're pretty much the same, I'd say.
Honestly, yes. I mean, because it was all. I mean, I know you're saying that jokingly, but like, to give credit to everyone, it was amazing to see everyone come together and throw those
Yep.
tweets and get on WhatsApp and get on Signal and make this happen. Like, what we did was a part of it.
Hmm.
And I know, like, me and Dennis went into Tajikistan and swam in Afghanistan, and Tim Kennedy and Seaspray and Sean G were going outside the wire edge. Ishkaya, like, I get that, but none of that would have been possible if it wouldn't have been for the thousands in the veteran community that were helping coordinate and the movement of people and getting him in. And it was so cool to see that. I mean, because I'm a very proud patriotic American, but I was embarrassed. I had to stand in front of the UAE government and apologize for our government. And I'd never been more embarrassed to be an American in one moment. In the next moment, I was never more proud to be an American, because when the governments of the world, including our own, did not do the right thing, good people stood up and took action and did something. And because of that, we were able to save thousands of people and make this horrible thing. I mean, even though this 17,000 people sounds like a lot, it's a speck of sand in comparison to 40 million, but
It's
still.
still a very incredible feat, like absolutely. And those lives all that makes a huge difference still, even though you're saying it's not, but check out his book, Saving Aziz, How the Mission to Help One Became a Calling to Save Thousands. It's an absolutely incredible story. Where can they get that? Pretty much
Uh,
everywhere. And
Pretty much everywhere. And I think the easiest place, I'm kind of watching where the lowest price. I think the lowest price right now is on Amazon.
okay.
because the vendors are competing, and I think right now Amazon's the lowest price and the fastest way to get it, because I think Amazon, you order it and it's at your door like in like 2 hours or something. I'm just
Yeah.
it's crazy when you order stuff. It's like right there.
Oh
But
yeah, it's crazy quick. And then where can people find you and your organization that you're most involved with now? Like what for veterans looking for that, where can they find that?
Mighty Oaks Foundation, go to mightyoaksprograms.org. If you're a veteran, a first responder, or a spouse, active duty veteran community, we have amazing programs that help. That we do about $5 million a year in programs for free to our
Can you give
troops.
a couple examples of some of the things?
Yeah. So we do. So one thing we do is resiliency programs. So I travel based around the world, and I do suicide prevention conferences, resiliency. I speak on the 4 pillars of resiliency. At Marine Corps Boot Camp, I do a spiritual resiliency event. I've done it for 8 years now, and speak to all the recruits that go through Marine Corps Boot Camp. So in about 12 years, I've spoken to about 500,000 troops in that program, and then we provide resources. We give away free books. I've given away about 350,000 copies of my books to the troops. And then we have a recovery program at 5 ranches around the country: California, Ohio, Virginia, and 2 in Texas. And those camps are 5 days long, followed on by a lifetime of aftercare. We do 35 of those camps a year. And we'll probably put 1,000 guys through this year. And we pay for everything, including travel to those programs. So again, active duty that comes in orders, veterans, spouses, first responders. And then the other thing we do is we do international program. And so that's why for the last year, Mighty Oaks and myself, I've been to Ukraine 10 times in the last year. We and helping the Ukrainian troops there. So while all that's free to our troops here and our people here, if you're someone that likes to support organizations like ours, we're a nonprofit. You can donate as well as mightyoaksprograms.org. And one last thing in the book, I mean, definitely encouraging everyone to get a copy. We're doing a special right now. If you buy 2 of them on Amazon, I don't even know if it's been emailed out yet, but I guess it will when this comes out. If you buy 2 of them on Amazon and email us the receipt, we will send you a 3rd one for free that's signed by me and Aziz. So that's kind of right now. And if you get one on Amazon, please leave a review. They help a lot.
Yes, I know they do. Ladies and gents, Chad Robichaux, thank you so much for joining the show, and thanks for everything you did. I know for those of us that were watching on the edge of our seats, it meant a lot to see people being helped and see people get out of there. So that was, I think, helpful to more people than you realize across the board. So thank you for your time.
Yeah, thanks for what you do, and thanks for helping share a story with the missions going on. So
yeah, absolutely. Best of luck with everything, and thanks again. Happy Friday.